Man alive, it's been some year for the dunk highs so far, and recent dunk highs have been absolutely well. There were the 277 Porsches, which was a great shoe, and then there was the Kebab and Destroy, which is another absolutely monster shoe. But the most recent one was the Maize and Black, and that wasn't a collaboration at all. That was just a straight up two-tone dunk high. And it was a beautiful dunk high, SB dunk high, and that kind of comes into today's video because today it's just a straight up dunk high, and we'll be talking a little bit about the differences between a dunk high and an SB dunk high, and looking back to that Maize and Black to make that connection. But basically, it's been a huge year for the dunk high line. I would say there's probably been at least 10 really significant drops, and this one right here is a significant drop, the black and white, but they're also calling it the Panda, and that takes me all the way back 900 plus days to when this channel first started, and the Panda dunk lows was one of the biggest shoes of that season and one of the first shoes I did for the channel. So it's kind of got a little bit of nostalgia in there for me to do this shoe, but also it's an absolutely fire shoe that sits really nice in that kind of catalogue of dunk highs that have been coming down the line. So let's get into it. We'll just jump straight to the first thing. That's what we've been doing lately, the channel, jumping straight in there, feet first to the main points and sort of working our way through the shoes, starting at the big stuff. And the big stuff on these guys is right up there on the tongue. It's a white tongue, a nylon tongue no less, with the white branding panel at the top, and then in there some university red. And this tells us that this dunk high is no retro, it's no restock, it's a straight up OG, first time this colorway has been out there. Now of course you take that red branding off of the tongue, and a black and white dunk is not an unusual thing to see out there. We've seen it in a few different iterations, but it's that university red that you get at the top of the tongues that tells us that this is an authentic brand new colorway that we haven't seen before, at least as far as I'm concerned. And as you know, if you're a regular watcher out there, that I research every single one of these videos and come to you with at least a little bit of background to the shoe, and the background I have in this one tells me it's brand new. But if you guys know something different, love to know in the comments down below. So that's a great place to start, up there in the tongues, and it gives us a couple of sort of places to look into. One is that difference between the SB dunk highs and dunk highs. Like I said, those Maize and Blacks we did recently, and we looked at the tongue on there, and I actually got the branding mixed up in that video, whether it was a black tongue with Maize branding or Maize tongue with black branding. I can't remember which way it goes, but I'm pretty sure I've got it right on this one, that it's a white tongue with a white branding panel and that red Nike swoosh branding at the top with no SB in there at all. But there's another little difference that comes in as well, is that on those Maize and Blacks you had piping around the edge of the tongue, but you don't see that piping here, or at least you don't see it in a different color on those Maize and Blacks. It was Maize and Black being the tongue and the piping around the edge, but on these guys it's white and white and white and white and white, except for the red Nike swoosh at the top that doesn't have the SB on there. So that's kind of a major detail on the shoe, and a great place to look at the sort of comparison between dunk highs and SB dunk highs. And then not too far away from that, we can go back and have a look on the insole. I think there's a shot of the insole. I'm pretty sure I saw one, and I'm pretty sure it's white branding on a black insole, but for some reason I'm actually thinking, oh, have I got that wrong? And usually when I think I've got something wrong, I have. So if the green screen behind here is showing something different on the old insoles, then look at that and stop listening to me, because that's more accurate than I am. But it's good to sort of look there as well, because that's another place where you've got that Nike swoosh without the SB on there that tells us the difference between those Maize and Blacks and these black and whites. And now speaking of black and whites and that red up the top there, these are basically a two-tone sneaker, and the big deal I have with dunks and dunk highs and lows equally when they come in two tones is if there is a white midsole on it and one of the two upper colors is white, then you've got your two-tone sneaker. In the case of these guys, white on the midsole, white on one of the colors on the upper, and then black is the other color. Now that's usually the pattern for two-tone, and we go back to those Maize and Blacks, and what they had was the upper was in Maize and Black, but it had a white midsole on it, so it's kind of a three-tone sneaker. But these guys coming in there, I would still call it a three-tone sneaker, even though it's basically black and white with that white midsole on there. It's that red hit at the top of the tongues that sort of stands it apart, and maybe a 2.5 tone, somewhere between a two-tone sneaker and a three-tone sneaker. So that's kind of the main feature up there in the tongues, and then how it sits in with the rest of the shoe. But then there's more to look at, especially in terms of materials, and I think it's usually the toe, which is a great place to look for materials on an SB, not SB, on a dunk high. And this will be showing us here that that it's very much a very leather shoe, and usually that wouldn't be big news in the Dunk line because a lot of Dunks, almost all of them, are leather. But again, those maize and blacks that we talked about earlier this week were a very beautiful roughed up suede. So when we've got the next high coming down the line and it is in all leathers, both the blacks and the whites, it's kind of important to mention in sort of contrast of those maize and blacks. And that reminded me just another thing about this shoe is kind of important. And I have issue with this because I don't know why they do it, but it's a women's dunk high, a WMNS, women's dunk high, and that has something to do with size runs and construction and stuff like that. But I don't see the difference between a women's shoe and a general release shoe, an adult shoe, and all that kind of stuff. So they're calling it women's. Don't know what it means to you guys out there, but if it comes in your size and you like how it looks, just go ahead and grab yourself a pair. That's the way I kind of roll the channel here. So yes, looking at the shoe, back to some of those detailing on there. We talked about the materials on the toe and the leathers that go in there. If you go back from that, there is a picture that shows that the black swoosh to be kind of a little bit kind of textured looking, but I think that's just a bad photograph or an interesting angle. I don't think it is anything other than just leather on that swoosh. There definitely isn't something like suede or tumbled leather, for example. It might be slightly treated leather, but I don't think so. I think it's just standard leather, and what it matches is the line. I always talk about the line when we do Dunks and Jordan 1s actually. So in the case of these guys, that line is the toe box up the quarter line, straight through the laces, and then all the way down the ankle and the heel, and that's where we get our black feature on the shoe. And then contrasting that is the white panel on the front of the toe box and the white panel on the midfoot, and then laid right on top of that white panel on the midfoot is that black swoosh. So it's kind of that standard color blocking standard line, and you can see how that university red at the top of the tongue plays a really important role, because without it you wouldn't have that kind of unique little element on these shoes that would draw you in. And then I think we'll go to the heel first and have a look at what's going on there and just see the way that the swooshes sort of come around onto the heel and sort of tie it together. There's a slight difference between these guys and Jordan 1s, for example, where Jordan 1s would have that tiny little rectangular panel where the swooshes join. You don't see that on the back end of Dunk highs, but you also do get that panel below where the swooshes meet with the stitching that runs, usually 4 lines of horizontal stitching running across the back of the heel there, and then it's finishing up with that outsole on these guys. And there's a couple of things on the outsole worth looking at. One is that it's all black, which matches the rest of the shoe and gives us that completed Panda look with the whites and the blacks on there. But the other thing is to again draw it back to the maize and black video and think about the midfoot panel on there in the middle of the outsole, where you see the branding in there, and it's not a different color. In the case of the maize and blacks, this was yellow and the rest of the outsole was black, but you can see on these guys here is black on black, and again that Nike swoosh branding in there that doesn't say SB, and that tells us a lot about the shoe. So so that's pretty much a look at the guy today, as everything that I can think of to cram into one video and give you guys an sort of a hint of what's coming down the line. That's what it's all about. The channel is doing stuff, drop dates, getting stuff out there, early drop dates. Now today is June the 25th. Tomorrow's sneaker is a Reebok Question Low, I think. And then no, today's video is a Reebok Question Low, tomorrow's something else, and then this video will go up on Sunday the 27th, and the sneaker drops on July the 3rd, so it's about a week ahead of the drop date. On July the 2nd there's something interesting dropping that I want to get my hands on, but I can't remember what it is. It might be those maize and blacks, so I think the maize and blacks are on July the 2nd and these guys July the 3rd, but the July the 3rd drop date is not one of those ones that a lot of people out there have got their hands on. Most of the sites that I'm looking at just say summer 2021, but it's already coming on July the 3rd, according to some of the apps, and I think the sneakers here in Japan, where I'm in Japan, bringing you this content, so we have a slightly different perspective, slightly different view of what's going on in the sneaker world out there, and maybe it's different for me, and July the 3rd is what's going on here in Japan, but for you guys out there, it'll be a slightly later drop date, or maybe it's earlier and these guys have already come down the line. But that's pretty much it for today. I think I'll finish off this video by, did I already talk about the I think I did. No, I don't think I did. I talked about the 277s, I talked about the Kebab and Destroy, but I didn't talk about the carpet companies because when I did that video and everything about that shoe said Middle East to me, and everything about my research said it was a Middle Eastern sneaker shop, skate shop. But then in the comments down below on a recent video that wasn't about that, somebody mentioned, I can't remember who it was, but they mentioned about how, yes, it's a whole lot of Middle East in there, and the brothers who own the carpet company skate shop also are Middle Eastern, but it's actually based in somewhere like Boston or somewhere on the east coast of the US. So it's kind of good to get those kind of comments and learn more from you guys out there. And with that being said, it's another Dunk High. So that's the Dunk Highs playing a massive role in the first half of the year. Some of the best sneakers that have come out so far. Long may that continue. For now though, it's time for me just to wrap up another video as we charge towards 1,000 consecutive days on YouTube without a single day missed. No Saturdays or Sundays missed, no holidays missed, no weekends, nothing missed. 1,000 consecutive days is just around the corner, and fingers crossed we can make it to that milestone at the channel. For now though, it's time for me to wrap this one up. Thank you guys for checking out the content, and I'll just say the same thing that I say at the end of every single video, which is I do this every single day, and that means that you are guaranteed to see me tomorrow.